The manual cars are almost extinct in North America. Or are they? Recent reports indicate that the sales of cars with manual transmissions more than doubled since 2019. Which sounds promising, right? Hi YouTube, I'm David Karsmansky. I'm talking about automotive insights, car buying, and cars in general. I would appreciate a comment with your thoughts at the bottom of this video or a suggestion on what would you like me to talk about next. If you like what you see generally, I'd appreciate a follow as well. Now, let's dive into the world of the modern North American manual cars. Look, I'm with you. The world needs more manual cars. Sure, they're not as lightning quick as the modern automatics, but there's no argument that they are more engaging. They actually compel you to perform better and think ahead and learn a connection between things like RPMs, horsepower, torque, and so many more other things. And you don't need to drive the manual as fast to have the same amount of fun, which is good for policing and enforcing the laws. Again, just because you need to think ahead and you're more connected with the car. I'm also convinced they make you a better driver. They are also cheaper to maintain, and on paper they're cheaper to manufacture. So on paper they should be better equipped for the same price. In North America, they're statistically better for car thefts because the thieves also don't want to bother with manual cars. Either they don't know how to drive them or it's harder to sell them later. And look, I drive a manual, but let's be honest, I got it used, so it didn't necessarily contribute to the problem that the manufacturers have, and I'm not alone in this. And there's an argument to be made that the dealers themselves don't order manual cars because they don't want, on paper, slower moving cars. So when the customer shows up to the lots, these days there are cars out there in the lots, it's not COVID anymore, and they see automatics and they say, if you want a manual, you have to wait another 3 to 6 months. Of course they're gonna go to automatic because they need a car right now. So it's a sort of a chicken and egg problem. But besides all that, I love manuals. There's a lot of arguments for them and a lot of car enthusiasts are with me. However, your regular North American has been obsessively opposed to the idea of a manual car because it adds more stress to driving. Take a look at my wife. She can drive a stick, I taught her, and she's pretty good at it, but she chooses not to drive a car with a stick because according to her, it's an additional stress to think about when you're driving, and she doesn't want that. And she's not alone, so to these types of drivers, the benefit of a more fun and engaging drive with a stick isn't worth the cost of an extra thought or stress when driving. But anyway, besides all that, let's look at the actual numbers because we all read that the sales of manual cars keep increasing, doubling. Let's take a look at what's actually happening. It's actually not as jolly as it sounds. On paper, yes, the sales doubled, but let's look at the numbers we're talking about. In 2019, manual cars were 0.7% of all cars sold in the US. Today, it's 2%, still a needle in a haystack, and with electric cars coming and European regulations being harsh on stick cars, this number is kind of peaking right now. And let's further look at what's available. I've grouped every single car that's available in North American market that has a manual, and let's see what's happening there. So in economy segment, there's 4 Japanese, 1 Korean, and 1 German. On average, in this economy segment, 5% of customers choose a car with a manual car, and in this segment, it is mostly to save on costs because manual cars are usually $2,000 to $3,000 cheaper for economy cars. Budget Sporty is the next segment, and it is the most successful. You got cars from Japanese, American, German, Korean, and English origin, and take rate on manuals in Budget Sporty at 50%. We're talking cars like GR Corolla, Mazda MX-5, BRZ, V8 Mustang, GTI, GLI, Golf R. The most successful cars in this segment are the BRZ with 79% take, Impreza WRX with 74% take rate, and Mazda MX-5 with 60% take rate. The next category is sporty and expensive. So we're talking German, American, Japanese, and English cars. Cars like M2, M3, Supra, Cadillac CT4V, CT5V, Lotus Emira, Porsche 718, and 911. In this segment, on average, 30 to 40% of customers choose manuals. And finally, we got the off-road section represented by 3 cars: Toyota Tacoma, Ford Bronco, and Jeep Wrangler / Gladiator. And Americans don't really advertise their take rate, but on Tacoma, there's 2% of customers that chose a manual. In all this data, what can we speculate? That the enthusiasts are the ones that are buying those manuals. So you have your budget sporty and a bit more expensive sporty customers that are looking for that extra engagement. In terms of the economy car buyers, they're slowly dying, and with more electrics, they'll die completely. And with off-roading, there is benefit to a manual transmission, but again, the take rates of those don't seem to be too high. So once again, it looks like the manual car demand is sort of peaking. And now with the lens of what's happening currently, let's look into the future. Dodge is discontinuing all manuals, BMW says M2 will be the last manual car, and more manufacturers are following the trend. So what's going to happen with manual transmission? So the first option is to pair a manual transmission to an electric motor, as this Ford concept has shown, but it's a one-off case and I can rarely see it happening. The second option might be more viable, is emulating the feel of a manual transmission, sort of like a simulator. You have the feel of a manual transmission and the motor sort of reacts to your inputs, but it's all not real. Nothing's connected and it's all just in the computer programming. Something like Toyota has shown, for example. Or the third option, which with every day seems less and less likely, is the hydrogen combustion cars, which are very similar to your regular engines. They can be paired to manual transmissions, no problem. So all in all, one more time, it does look like we are in the dawn of manual transmission cars, as doomed as it sounds. But we can make the best of it currently, support your manufacturers that are building nice manual cars that you like, and maybe they'll consider bringing them into the future.